Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the New York Giants three-round mock draft. We did a full three-round mock draft, all 100 picks, and these will be the Giant selections. But before we do that, we have a fun announcement. Tracy Take has partnered with BetUS, and you can find their link below. They have a fun promotion for all first-time players, a 125% match with their first three deposits. So if you like putting a couple bucks down on the game that you're watching, hit that link below, sign up, and then explore their website as they have a bunch of fun games to play. And while you're at it, be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring that bell to get notified when we create new content. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers here, hopefully by the end of March or early April. And then from there, maybe we can get to 4,000 by the end of the draft. So who knows? Like, subscribe. And Ryan, let's get to this here. So we want to include the offseason moves so far by the Giants, and they have made a lot. And also, to me, I think it's definitely cleared up what they're going to end up doing with their first pick. And I mentioned that a lot because I see all these offensive line moves right here from Jermaine Illuminor tackle to John Runyon, who is the starting guard for Green Bay, all the way down to Oscar Slotman and Minnesota. They're really emphasizing the offensive line here, and it makes me even think more that they're going to be receiver first, in my opinion, because I don't think one of the quarterbacks is going to fall to them. But if they do fall to them, then that does open up that option. But guys like Joe Alt, guys like Olaf Shano, I don't think that they're going to be there. I don't think that they're on their radar.
No, especially, I mean, I know Evan Neal has been horrible as a pro and Andrew Thomas has been injured. I just think you look at them, that was 2 first-round picks spent in the last 4 years, I believe. I just don't see them going after another top 10 tackle like that. And so, especially after they made these additions in free agency. So, I like kind of what they've done. They did lose Xavier McKinney, which I think was a big loss on that defensive side of the ball, and Saquon Barkley, which obviously we all know the role that he played in that offense. So it's going to be interesting to see what this offense looks like, offense and defense looks like without 2 key players. But all in all, I will say, if you're going to lose 2 players on both sides of the ball that are like big players for you, losing safeties and running backs is probably the easiest to replace. So, and then they did go out, they got Brian Burns as well. So I think it's going to be interesting watching the New York Giants and how they approach next season. But let's get into their first.
I would say that too. That Brian Burns trade, phenomenal value. I mean, like you have those 2 second-round picks. You'll give up a 39th overall pick for Brian Burns in day of the week. And I think now you pair him up with Kayvon Thibodeau, that entire defensive line from New York, which that defense in the second half of the year was clicking. I mean, they were very good. So I'm very curious to kind of see what they can go and do. Maybe just figure out this offense stuff. But sorry, I just want to get that point in there. Moving on, though, to that first pick. This is where we do have Rome Odunze falling to the 6th pick. We did include Joe Alt as a potential option if they were like, hey, let's move on from Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal. Let's just get rid of both of them. But I think more than likely this is going to be a trade back spot. Picks 1, 2, and 3 were all the quarterbacks. So maybe if one of the quarterbacks falls as well. But I think this is going to be the 3rd receiver or potential trade back spot for a team who maybe wants to go and take a line. Joe Alt, potentially New York would want to do that. Maybe Chicago would want to trade up and just solidify that offensive line with their new quarterback. So, or maybe they'd want to trade up and go get Rome Odunze. But in general, though, I think if you're New York, this is one of the things I've been thinking about on these teams with some potential trades moving up into the top 10. It's not also too about who would want to go and do it and like what draft capital that they have. You also kind of have to think about how I look at it. Why would New York want to trade back? Like I think that they would be completely satisfied with any of those 3 receivers or maybe any of those quarterbacks if that's who they want to fall to. So I just don't see why New York would want to trade back, let alone unless if the offer is just unreal and then like the value is like, okay, well we feel we can go and get way more value than what Rome Odunze would offer. So that's what I think. That's just kind of how I think about it. I'm curious with Giants fans. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are and what you think they should do with this first overall pick. Their first pick.
I mean, to speak a little bit about Rome Odunze, I mean, I don't know. Like, he would have been far and away the best receiver in last year's class, and it's not even really close. And I think even who was the class the year before that? That was like Christian Watson and But either way, like he's probably the best receiver in the last couple years, if not one of. And for me to get that here at 6, I think that's tremendous value, especially when he can play anywhere in your formation.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, he has a separation speed. He has the route running ability that you look for in top level NFL receivers. He is great in contested catch situations, as we saw plenty of times in Washington. He just does everything you want a receiver to do, and he comes in this like ultimate tough guy package that literally broken ribs couldn't fly. So he drove 24 hours back to Washington and then played 2 weeks later with broken ribs. That is the football player you want, especially I think in New York with a team that is probably going to have a new quarterback soon. Go get that guy a year of experience and help a young quarterback that you're going to draft in years to come.
Yeah. And the 2022 draft class was Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, then Jahad Johnson, and Treylon Burks. I think Rome Odunze definitely would be value over Jameson Williams. I would put him over maybe coming out of college, the 2 Ohio State receivers. Him and Drake London maybe could go back and forth.
So I would put him higher on the prospect list than Drake London because Drake London only played 6 games his senior year and looked good, and then he broke his ankle. So even if you're looking at it on a prospect by prospect standpoint, he's the best wide receiver to come out in the last 2 years, and he's the 3rd wide receiver in this class.
Yeah.
And so that to me, I think is really good value here.
He's not the definitive 3rd. I will say some people put him over Malik Neighbors, but I get your point though.
Yeah.
I get your point. Yeah. So with the 2nd round, if we want to move on to there, 39th pick goes to Brian Burns. Great selection there. 47th pick, we thought that this would be a good spot for Edgerrin Cooper here. Maybe solidify a little bit more on the middle part of the defense. And so they have a great defensive line, and I think that they've secondary is improving on as well. I think also, too, kind of at this point, there were still some other corners that were there, but we thought maybe that the Giants would have gone a different direction. Maybe it's not the best fit. So we ended up going with Edgerrin Cooper here with the linebacker position here. I like this fit. I think it's just a good best player available. You take that Brian Burns, which is like your 39th overall pick. And then you get a beast of a guy there, and then you get even a more beast of a linebacker here in Edgerrin Cooper as well.
Yeah, so and they have Bobby I don't know if it's Okereke, that's how Pat McAfee pronounced it, or if it's Okereke.
I thought it was Okereke. That's how I'm going to pronounce it.
Okay.
Because he said it on TV. So
okay, so it's Bobby Okereke, and then the other guy is Micah McFadden, who was a 2022 5th round pick, and I know their linebacking group has been serviceable, but going and getting a freak athlete at that position and really upgrading that and taking that position to the next level, I think could do so much for this defense, especially they spent a 1st rounder on Deonte Banks last year. And so that secondary is looking good. I forget who was they had a safety in free agency.
No, they had Jalen Mills.
That's right. They added Jalen Mills, who is okay. His best position is safety, but he can play corner as well. And so that to me, I think you look and that front 7 is one of the top in the NFL. You have, like you said, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Bobby Okereke, and then now Edgerrin Cooper, and that is a really formidable front 7. And then Dexter Lawrence in the middle as well. So, let's move on to the, I think, last pick here for them. And with the loss of Saquon Barkley, they go out and they get Blake Corum, who just does everything you want a running back to be able to do. He runs between the tackles really well. He has the speed to beat defenders on the outside. He can catch out of the backfield. It's just a really, really well-rounded rusher. Is he Saquon Barkley? No. But very few people are. And I think to get a guy of his caliber here in the 3rd round, one speaks to the depth and just talent overall in this running back class. But just how valuable this running backs can be. So
yeah. Well, and I think another thing as well too. I know they did end up signing Devin Singletary as well from Houston, but we're seeing this now with a lot of teams. They don't really have a bell cow back anymore.
Yeah,
they want to ensure themselves just with how vulnerable that position is. So I think here you get Blake Corum here, then you put him behind Devin Singletary, and they can share carries. Then they even did draft Eric Ray last year in the 5th round, and even before that in 2021, Gary Brightwell. So just having a lot of running backs that, because they really are kind of when you get to that point, they're very replaceable. Guys like Saquon Barkley, guys like Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, those are diamonds in the rough. A lot of running backs, I don't mean this in the wrong way, are very replaceable. That's kind of why they're having this whole running back market situation going on right now, because you can go get guys in the 5th and 6th round that are like this, and maybe Blake, and maybe even for that it's too high for Blake Corum because they feel like, well, we can go get a guy very similar.
Later
in the 5th round.
And that to me, I think just the running back position as a whole has been devalued. So, I mean, just looking at this class as a whole, I think they got really good value at all levels of the draft. I think Blake Corum maybe goes in like the back end of the 2nd round, but getting him there at 70, I think is good value. Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker, might not be the biggest of needs on this defense, but I mean, just a really, really solid player. He can do everything for you. And then Rome Odunze there at 6. Look, I get he's the 3rd receiver, but compare him to other wide receiver prospects in the past few classes. And I mean, shoot, even 3 years ago, he's probably the number 2 to Jamar Chase. I think Rashad Bateman was the 2nd wide receiver off the board in that class. And
Jalen Waddle. It was Jalen Waddle.
Oh, Jalen Waddle. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Was that?
And then Devontae Smith was a couple picks later.
Okay. So, but I mean, he's of that caliber for sure as a prospect. So, just a tremendous athlete there. So, all in all, I think the Giants got a lot better in this mock.
Yeah.
So, let's go ahead and wrap it up. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of this New York Giants 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And on that, we will see you guys next time.